We were sitting around the campfire when I found out my wife had betrayed me. And not just betrayed me, wrecked me. In the most ordinary moment. By accident. There wasn't a fight. No dramatic confession. Just one slip of the tongue that cracked something deep in me wide open. It was early fall, just outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. A long weekend with friends, the kind of trip that made us feel like we hadn't all grown up and drifted apart. The air was cool and sharp, pine trees whispering above us. A little whiskey. A little music. Everyone wrapped in flannel and nostalgia. I remember the firelight flickering off her face. My wife, Haley, laughing at something Sam had said. Her hand was resting lightly on my thigh. It felt natural. Familiar. Safe. Sam had been my best friend since 8th grade. We'd gone to the same high school, survived the same dumb fights, moved to the same town after college. I was the best man at his wedding. He was the best man at mine. I trusted him with everything. Everything. And that night, around the fire, we were just telling stories. Trading old memories. Everyone a little buzzed, a little loose. It was Haley who said it. Something small. Something I wasn't even supposed to hear. Sam was telling a story about his awful college roommate, the one who snuck girls in and never cleaned up after himself. Everyone was laughing. And then Sam said, "That was the night I almost got caught. Remember that, Haley?" It got quiet for half a beat too long. Haley blinked, too slow. Sam froze, mouth halfway into a grin. Then she laughed, this brittle, high-pitched thing, and waved her hand like she was brushing away smoke. "Oh my God, don't even bring that up," she said. And just like that, the air changed. I watched the fire crackle, replaying what I just heard in my head. Over and over. "That was the night I almost got caught. Remember that, Haley?" Caught doing what? Why would Haley remember it? Why would Sam say it, with me right there? And why did her face go pale before she laughed? Something in me went cold. I didn't say anything that night. Didn't accuse. Didn't flinch. Because when you've been blindsided like that, your first instinct isn't rage. It's disbelief. You start rechecking the details. The trip she took to San Diego 3 summers ago when I had to work overtime on the roof collapse downtown. The photos she didn't post. The fact that Sam randomly tagged her in a beach pic and then untagged her 2 hours later. Back then, I hadn't even thought twice about it. But now? Now I was replaying everything. Every look. Every smile they'd shared when they thought I wasn't watching. I sat there, listening to the fire pop and the wind rush through the pine, and I felt something ancient move in me. Not hate. Not grief. Precision. Back home, things returned to normal, or at least Haley thought they had. She kissed me when we unpacked the car. Said the trip had been just what we needed. Wrapped her arms around me in the kitchen while I reheated leftovers. And all I could think about was how many other lies she'd tucked into moments like this. How many touches were just alibis? How many stories had been rewritten mid-sentence to make her look faithful? I started watching. Quietly. She wasn't sloppy. Not anymore. If something had happened between her and Sam, it was in the past, years ago, most likely. A secret affair buried and left to rot under the surface. But rot doesn't stay buried forever. It leaves traces. I checked old photos. Social media. Metadata. Pulled up a Google Maps timeline I didn't even know existed. It had location history going back 6 years. I traced her San Diego trip again. The address she visited? A hotel. A Marriott. One Sam had stayed at before, when he spoke at a regional construction conference. I knew because I booked it for him once, using my employee discount. I found an old receipt. Their check-in times were 2 hours apart. Their checkout was the same minute. They'd stayed in the same room. I didn't confront her. Because I wasn't interested in a screen-filled kitchen argument. I was interested in control. I wanted to rebuild the world beneath her feet, and then pull it out from under her. Slowly. Thoughtfully. Like she had done to me. I started meeting with a therapist, under the pretense of managing work stress. Haley encouraged it, said I'd been distant lately. I nodded, smiled, held her at night, cooked breakfast like I always did. But every day, I was rewiring something in myself. I stopped confiding in her. Stopped asking how her day was. Stopped being available in the way a husband is. Not cold. Not cruel. Just distant enough that she'd notice and wonder why. She didn't realize she was already losing me. One unspoken inch at a time. 3 weeks later, I saw Sam again. We were helping another friend move, just the guys. Lifting furniture, cracking jokes, sweating it out like we always had. He acted normal. Too normal. Like someone performing innocence. But his eyes flicked to me when he thought I wasn't looking. I caught the flash of worry there, and it felt good. That night, I sat on the back deck, looking at the stars, sipping whiskey I didn't even want. Haley came outside, barefoot, in that old sweatshirt of mine she always stole. She leaned on the railing beside me and said, "You've been quiet lately." I nodded. "Work," I said. "Just tired." She touched my hand, and I let her, because I wanted her to feel safe, right before I made her world collapse. You can't remove rot without digging. That was the logic that guided me in the weeks that followed, like I was excavating a structure that had looked fine from the outside but was collapsing behind the drywall. A marriage is just a frame. It's what's built inside it that makes it real. And I was beginning to see ours for what it truly was: water-damaged, termite-ridden, built on a lie no one thought I'd ever uncover. But I had. And now I couldn't stop. I started with Haley's old phone backups. She'd switched phones a year ago, cracked the screen on her Samsung, and upgraded to an iPhone. I remembered helping her do the data transfer through our home desktop. She used a cloud service, but the initial sync left a ghost folder on the hard drive. A redundancy. She never deleted it. Inside, I found fragments. Nothing outright explicit. No photos. No confession. But the emotional breadcrumb trail was all there. Snippets of chat logs. Old message previews. Timestamps. Names. One entry stood out. "Haley, that night was a mistake. I can't stop thinking about it. I just needed to feel something." There was no response text attached. Just that one message from 4 years ago, dated 2 weeks after her San Diego trip. The contact name? Deleted. But I knew. I didn't confront her. I printed the screen grab and added it to a private folder I kept in a locked drawer at work, somewhere she'd never find. I wasn't building a court case. I was building certainty. Because in situations like this, it's easy to second-guess yourself. Gaslight yourself. You want to believe the person you love is incapable of doing something so selfish, so cruel. You want to find a loophole, a misunderstanding. But she wrote it. Plain as day. That night was a mistake. I just needed to feel something. And she'd kept lying to me ever since. That was the real betrayal. Not the moment it happened, but the years she let me believe in something she'd already walked away from. Around that same time, Sam stopped calling me. No texts. No check-ins. No invitations to go hiking or grab beers or catch a gang. The guilt had reached him. Or maybe the fear had. Either way, the silence was an admission. It told me everything I needed to know. At home, Haley sensed something was shifting. She didn't say it out loud. But she tried harder. Made my favorite meals more often. Wore perfume she hadn't touched in years. Suggested spontaneous date nights, like she was trying to plug a leak she couldn't find. And I let her. Because I wanted her to believe she still had me. So when I took a business trip down to Phoenix, I texted her sweet things. Sent her photos of my hotel room. Called her at night. Told her I missed her voice. She ate it up. I watched her reactions closely, and they were always the same. Relief. Because she still didn't know that I knew. And that's what made it so satisfying. I went to Phoenix, yes, but I didn't stay long. Instead, I made a quick detour, a 3-hour drive west, to San Diego. Booked a room at the same Marriott she'd stayed at. The same floor. Room 412. Not because I needed to relive anything, but because I needed to see it, to feel it, to stand where she had once stood, where she'd slipped off her wedding ring and handed over her body like it didn't belong to someone else. The room had been renovated since then. New carpet, new furniture. But I stood at the window, staring out at the same coastline she had, and I imagined it all. The way she probably laughed nervously when she walked in. The way Sam probably kissed her before she could change her mind. The way she probably whispered, "Just this once," and then buried it. The next phase of the plan came naturally. It wasn't rage that guided me. It was logic. Steady. Unflinching. I started spending more time at work. More late nights. Early mornings. Little distance-building tactics designed to feel like routine rather than withdrawal. And Haley started to notice. "You okay?" she asked one morning as I was lacing up my boots. "Yeah," I said, with a smile I didn't mean. "Just focused." She nodded. Kissed my cheek. And I watched her linger in the hallway after I left, as if she could sense the air had changed but couldn't name how. That's how you dismantle a liar's world. You let them feel it fall apart. Around this time, I began building something new. Not a relationship. Not a fling. Something better. Something real. It started small, just emails exchanged with a woman named Claire who worked in environmental policy. We'd met during a city planning session over a year ago. At the time, we were both married. Nothing had happened. Now, she was divorced. And I was unraveling. Claire didn't know what was happening in my marriage. Not yet. But she listened. Asked questions no one else did. And for the first time in months, I heard my own voice say things I hadn't admitted to myself. The final straw came on a Wednesday night. I came home late from a worksite debrief. Haley was already in bed, asleep, or pretending to be. Her phone buzzed once on the nightstand. I glanced. Unknown number. Do you ever think about it? Just that. No name. No context. But I knew what it meant. I took a photo of the screen. Then I put the phone back down and walked into the bathroom, where I ran the faucet just long enough to sound normal. And then I stood in the mirror and told myself, "You're done pretending." The next morning, I told her I was taking a few days to myself. Needed a mental reset. Work and stress and life. The perfect cover. She said she understood. "I think we've both been feeling off," she said, touching my arm. "But I believe in us." I kissed her forehead, packed a small bag, drove 6 miles to a rental cabin outside of Oak Creek Canyon. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't use that time to rest. I used it to finalize the blueprint. The emotional blueprint for the kind of revenge that doesn't break a window, it breaks certainty. Because when you cheat on someone who trusts you completely, the worst thing they can do is walk away without looking back. Without a scene. Without closure. Just silence. And one final move that proves they saw everything. And waited until the right moment to let you see the hole you dug for yourself. That moment was coming. Soon. I could feel it. Like a storm building in the bones. Some people think revenge is about getting even. It's not. Revenge, real revenge, is about balance. Not screaming, not chaos, not fire. It's about making someone feel what they made you feel. Quietly. Precisely. Without losing your soul in the process. That's what I was after. And I knew exactly where to begin. I came home from the cabin 3 days later, just before sunset. Haley was on the porch, barefoot, wine glass in hand, wrapped in a blanket like she was in a commercial for comfort. She looked relieved when she saw me, like she hadn't been sure I'd come back. "Hey," she said softly. "You okay?" I nodded. Clearer. We hugged. Brief. Hollow. She followed me inside, chatting about small things, groceries, her sister's upcoming wedding, the new TV show she thought we'd like. I pretended to care. Asked just enough questions to make it believable. And when she went to the kitchen, I did the first real thing I'd done in weeks. I took off my wedding ring. Not dramatically. Just slipped it off, set it quietly on my nightstand, and didn't mention it. She noticed the next morning. At breakfast. I caught her glance down at my hand, then flick quickly away. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The first pin had dropped. That week, I started spending time away from home in more obvious ways. Coffee shops on weekends. Extended gym sessions. Late-night walks I never used to take. It wasn't to punish her. It was to introduce absence. Not physical, emotional. To show her that the space she once filled was being emptied, not by accident, but by design. And then, I made contact with Sam. Texted him out of nowhere. "Need to talk. In person. Just you and me." He replied within a minute. Of course. When and where? I chose a bar we used to hit after college. A neutral spot. Low lights. Heavy wood. No music too loud to kill the words. When I walked in, he was already there. He looked nervous. Didn't hide it well. 2 beers in front of him, one untouched, for me. "Hey," he said. "Hey." I sat down. Didn't touch the beer. He waited for me to speak. I didn't. Not for a while. Just stared at him. Let the weight fill the air. Finally, he broke. "Noah, man. I'm sorry. I've been wanting to." "You slept with my wife," I said. Calm. Flat. He froze. I leaned in slightly. "You slept with Haley. In San Diego. 4 years ago." "I know. I've known since the campfire." His mouth opened, closed. Color drained from his face. "Noah," I listened. "Save it." I reached into my coat and slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were copies of every photo, every GPS log, the text snippet she'd sent him, the screenshot of the message from the unknown number. "I want you to look at that," I said. "And remember that I was the guy who helped you move 3 times. Who covered for you when you missed rent. Who picked up your drunk ass off the sidewalk more than once." He looked down. Didn't touch the envelope. "You could have told me," I said. "You could have confessed. You could have been a man." He whispered something, a broken, "I know," or maybe, "I'm sorry." I stood. I don't want an apology, Sam. I want you out of my life. Permanently. Delete my number. Don't come to mutual events. If I'm in the room, you leave. If you can't do that, I will. But we won't share space again. Noah. If you say my name again, I'll raise this. Make it public. Not in a messy, childish way. In a precise way. Professionally. I have everything I need. Her job. Your clients. Your reputation. So if you ever think of trying to explain your side to anyone, think again. He nodded. Pale. Sweating. Good, I said, stepping away. We understand each other now. I didn't tell Haley about the meeting. I didn't have to. 2 days later, she asked if I'd seen Sam lately. Her tone was casual. Practiced. But the tension in her neck said everything. I shrugged. We're done. Done. I looked at her, dead calm. He's not my friend anymore. That chapter's over. She blinked. What happened? I just kept staring. And that's when she knew. I saw it hit her, like glass cracking in slow motion. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. Noah, I want to be honest. I haven't been. But if we're really going to try to fix things, I need to come clean. Now she wanted to confess. Now, when the walls were already scorched. Okay, I said. She sat down at the table. Took a breath. Rubbed her hands together like a priest before confession. It happened once. Just once. We were drunk and stupid, and I thought you were pulling away from me back then. It was so fast, and I hated myself after. I waited. I didn't tell you because I thought it would ruin us. And then it was years ago, and I thought maybe I could just be better and leave it behind. I nodded slowly. And when Sam almost slipped up at the campfire? I panicked, she whispered. I wasn't sure you noticed. And after that? When he texted you? Her head snapped up. What? The unknown number. Do you ever think about it? That wasn't the first message. She paled. I saw it, I said. And all of it before that, too. Silence. I was going to take it to court, I added. Use it. Tear you apart financially. But I decided against it. Because honestly, I'd rather walk away with peace than drag you through fire. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't want to lose you, she said, voice cracking. Please, Noah. I'll do anything. I'll fight for this. But that was the thing. She hadn't fought when it mattered. And now? It was too late. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I stood, walked into the bedroom, and pulled out the ring she thought I still wore. I placed it on the table in front of her. Then I walked out the door. She called after me. I didn't turn back. I got in the car, drove to a small apartment I'd signed a lease for 3 days earlier. She didn't know I was already gone. Just like I hadn't known she'd already left me for years ago in a hotel room overlooking the bay. The day after I left, Haley sent 14 messages. They started with confusion. Then came panic. By evening, guilt. And finally, desperation. Please just talk to me. We can go to therapy. We can fix this. You're not thinking clearly. I made a mistake, but I've never stopped loving you. Please, Noah, just come home. But that wasn't home anymore. It hadn't been in years. The next morning, I replied with a single message. I'm filing. You'll be served this week. Don't contact me again unless it's through your attorney. And just like that, the noise stopped. I'd already hired a lawyer 2 weeks earlier. Her name was Dana. Sharp as hell. Knew how to move through court without a trail of drama. And more importantly, she understood what I wanted. No theatrics, I told her. Just clean and final. We had no kids. No business entanglements. The house was mine, bought before the marriage, with separate funds. The prenup sealed the rest. But there was one card I hadn't played yet. The affair. I hadn't used it in court filings. Not formally. But Dana said, we can. It'll change the tone. If we need to. I told her to hold it for now. I wanted to see how Haley would respond when the only thing I offered was absence. No anger. No argument. Just silence, wrapped around the truth she'd tried to bury. The papers were delivered on a Thursday. She didn't respond until Sunday. One short message, sent through Dana. Haley accepts the terms. No contest. That's when I knew. She wasn't going to fight. Because she knew she'd already lost. Word got around fast. Our friend's circle, small as it was, began to shift. People picked sides without saying it out loud. Sam kept his head down, probably hoping I wouldn't bring everything public. He needn't have worried. I didn't need to ruin him. I just needed him to watch me walk away clean. That was enough. I kept the apartment. Simple, modern. 2 bedrooms, one for sleep, one I converted into a studio. I didn't know what I wanted to make at first. Not art, not really. Just something. It started with rough charcoal sketches. Simple lines. Pressure-based strokes. Then one night, I stayed up until 3 a.m., carving out a landscape on thick canvas. A canyon split down the middle. One side dry and broken, the other pulsing with life. The title came to me without effort. Fault line. I didn't think about Haley when I painted it. I thought about me. What I'd survived. What I was rebuilding. Claire reached out again, not long after the divorce was finalized, just to check in. An article she forwarded about municipal infrastructure reform, our shared nerdy middle ground. I read it, wrote back, and this time, the words didn't feel like placeholders. They felt like something beginning. We met for coffee 2 weeks later. She didn't ask about Haley. I didn't offer. What mattered was the way she looked at me. Not like someone who saw my damage, but like someone who saw the shape of who I was becoming. Haley reached out one more time, 6 months after the divorce. A real letter. Paper and ink. It was short. No begging. No dramatics. Just, I've been sitting in silence for a while now, trying to understand how I let the best person I ever had become a stranger. I've run out of excuses, and I know you don't owe me anything. But I want you to know that I carry what I did every day, and I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope one day, you'll believe I still wish you peace. I didn't reply, not because I hated her, but because some doors, once closed, become walls. Later that year, Dana texted me out of the blue. You did something rare, Noah. You didn't just survive it. You outgrew it. I sat with that message for a while, and then I realized what revenge really is, or at least the kind I chose. It's not destruction. It's evolution. It's letting the people who wronged you rot inside the story they built, while you quietly write a better one. In the fall, I had a solo gallery showing. Small space. Local. Just a few dozen people. I didn't invite friends. Didn't post about it. I wasn't seeking validation. But the gallery owner told me something interesting after opening night. Someone came by to see Fault Line. She didn't stay long. Just stood there for 20 minutes. Bought nothing. Didn't speak. I knew who it was. Didn't need confirmation. Didn't care. Let her look. Let her feel it. Let her realize that the man she broke didn't just rebuild. He thrived. Without her. There's a kind of quiet that settles in after you've finished grieving. It's not numbness. It's clarity. Like waking up underwater and realizing you're not drowning, you're floating. And the surface is right there, above you, waiting for you to rise. That's how it felt, the day I moved Haley's last traces out of my life. Not with a bonfire. Not with a symbolic purge. Just with a cardboard box. Her cookbooks. A scarf she left draped over the door. A bracelet in the junk drawer I'd stopped seeing 6 months ago. I took them to a donation center and left no return address. And just like that, the last of her left my life. The gallery piece, Fault Line, sold quietly 2 months later. Bought by a private collector in Sedona. A woman in her 60s who said it reminded her of what it feels like to outlive a story that once defined you. I didn't correct her. That's exactly what it was. Claire and I took things slowly. Intentionally. No rushing. No trauma bonding. She knew about the divorce eventually, the broad strokes, not the ugly corners. She didn't need the forensic details. She just needed to see me in the after. And she did. Not as a man recovering from a wound, but as someone rewriting his rhythm. One night, months into us seeing each other, she found the sketchbook I kept in my studio. Flipped through pages of jagged lines, old drafts of Fault Line, charcoal renderings of bridges half-finished, and collapsing dams mid-breach. You've been carrying this for a while, she said. Not anymore, I told her. And I meant it. The strange thing about betrayal is that it never fully disappears. It becomes a landmark in your inner landscape. A caution sign. A scar. But scars don't hurt forever. And sometimes, they remind you where not to walk again. I heard through a friend that Sam moved to Portland. Left the city quietly. Burned a few bridges of his own. I didn't reach out. Didn't need to. Let him start over. Let him wonder how I sleep at night, knowing what he did. The answer? I sleep fine. Because I didn't let what they did turn me into them. As for Haley, she moved across town, started working part-time at a wellness clinic. Took up hiking again. Posted filtered sunsets and self-help quotes about healing and growth. But she always looked tired in the photos. Like someone wearing peace like a borrowed jacket, just enough to pass, but never quite hers. I never saw her again. But once, a year later, I got a letter. No return address. Just a small envelope, postmarked from Arizona. Inside, a photo. Not of us. Of that same campfire, the one where the whole thing cracked open. It had been taken by someone else on the trip, years ago. We were all laughing in the shot. Flames in the foreground. Friends circled close. Haley's hand resting on my leg. Sam mid-joke. All of us bathed in that soft amber glow of trust. She'd written one sentence on the back. I didn't deserve the way you loved me. I folded it once, held it in my hand for a moment. Then I walked to the edge of the creek behind my apartment and let it go. Watched the paper soak, tilt, and slip under the water's skin. No rage. No vindication. Just peace. Because I'd already done what she feared most. I became someone she'd never get back. They say some betrayals stay with you. But I don't carry hers. I walk beside it. I remember what it taught me. To pay attention to the pauses. To trust the silence between words. To never ignore a flicker in the flame. Because when someone breaks something sacred, they don't just lose your love. They lose your access. To your loyalty. To your presence. To your future. And when the dust settles, you don't have to destroy them. You just have to disappear. And become the better version they'll never see again.